Hey everyone, and welcome back to my completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS. And in this episode we're going to cleanse these tunnels of the Kuo-Toa. And in the chamber in front of us there's going to be a skirmish with them, giving us a taste of what the Kuo-Toa are and what they are capable of. But in the unrevealed section of the map, normally there would be 4 separate encounters with smaller groups of them. But with SCS, due to the increased awareness that enemies generally have, this is basically going to be a one big battle with their whole army, so things are going to get interesting. And we're going to talk about the Kuo-Toa and their abilities in a second, but also, just for demonstrational purposes, we're going to send Anomen solo in this one to showcase the fact that unfortunately most of the Kuo-Toa types are quite low level and are susceptible to death spell. And I say unfortunately because of course the fights with them are much more interesting if you don't just instantly kill most of them with one spell. But it is a tool in our arsenal and a viable way of dealing with them. But I'm only going to cast it just this once and then never again. We're going to deal with the Kuo-Toa in different ways. So let's go in with Anomen here and see the Kuo-Toa. So as you can see, there's quite a few different types of them. They can have wizards with them, priests, warriors, and thieves also. Let's see if... Alright, yeah, here we have the Kuo-Toan Whip. Those are the thieves that can backstab for triple damage. And also, as you can see, they basically have True Sight available to them as an innate special ability, and they're going to have that active, you know, when fighting groups of them, there's always going to be someone that has True Sight active. And when it comes to the Kuo-Toa and their abilities and whatnot, they can see invisible and hidden characters even without that True Sight. But what that True Sight means is that we cannot really rely on our mirror images and our improved invisibility bonuses when fighting them. Well, unless we have spell immunity to divination active. And they are also 50% resistant to electricity and immune to acid. So Jaheira's Black Blood or Melf's Acid Arrow, for example, wouldn't do anything to them. They are also immune to different movement impairing effects like slow and web and hold and paralyze, but still susceptible to different like crowd control means. You can still stun them, blind them, confuse them with chaos, for example. Also emotion hopelessness and greater command are going to work against them. But also what's important about the Kuo-Toa are their weapons, because if they shoot their crossbows, they actually use stunning bolts, and this can really catch you off guard, because normally, you know, the Kuo-Toa are not a big problem, but if you're not prepared against their tricks, they can definitely catch you off guard with their stunning bolts, their True Sight, and whatnot. And also if they fight in melee with their spears, they can slow. And also what's interesting about the Kuo-Toa is that most of them are vulnerable to fire. Most of them have minus 25 resistance to fire. There are some exceptions that just have 0 resistance to fire, but most of them are vulnerable to it, and we're going to take advantage of that in the upcoming fights. But anyway, here we can also showcase the death spell coming from our Skull of Death, and as you can see, we cannot aim it anywhere on the ground. We actually have to select a target. So let's just use it on this warrior here. And Anomen is not going to be interrupted even if they damage him here, because it comes from an item, and boom, most of them are dead. Just this wizard is active. And even though the wizards are one of the highest level types of Kuo-Toa, they are still only like around level 10, so that remove magic of his was ineffective on Anomen. And we can actually have some other characters join the fight now. And we can also re-equip Sinashira properly with her weapons. And as you can see, the acid damage coming from the Flail of Ages doesn't do anything, and that's it when it comes to the Kuo-Toa. So here are their special bolts. They look like normal bolts +1, but they are much better than that. And also some other goodies. Yeah, these Kuo-Toan bolts, they do give you an opportunity to save versus spell, but otherwise they stun for 4 rounds, and they also deal some pretty nice damage. So I think once we bunch up again, we're going to give these bolts to Imoen already. And also, as you can see, our cursor changes here in this pool with their tadpoles, their tainted tadpoles swimming, and we can take some. And this is useful for a little thing later, but these sickly tadpoles basically are going to well, they were separated from their normal birthing pools, from the healthy tadpoles, not to like disease and corrupt the healthy ones. And we're going to be able to use them to actually corrupt their pool later on.
Without doubt.
Oh yeah, and we can re-equip Anoman normally.
Yes, quickly and precisely.
Also, Senashira should be regenerating in the meantime. And yeah, we're going to equip these bolts already on Emoen. And yeah, now comes the time for the big fight. And we're going to showcase some fun tactics here. But yeah, first we're going to have to pre-buff our mages with stone skins. They are here, you know, without our mirror images, they are our primary means of defense. And we also need to pre-buff everyone with chaotic commands so that no one gets stunned. We also have our skeleton warrior here. Of course, these ones last for a very long time, so he's going to be useful in some upcoming encounters as a distraction. And I think even Kirinai is going to get that. And we're going to have one chaotic commands left, just in case if someone gets dispelled. And we're also going to need protection from fire on Edwin. And I could use it on Kirinai, but I think she's going to be safe as she is now, staying kind of at a distance from the main fight. So we're going to have one protection from fire left also if someone gets dispelled. But yeah, now is the time to give this Book of Infinite Spells to Edwin, and he's going to get his spell turning from that, and Senashira has one spell turning memorized. Also, we're going to give this belt to Kirinai. This improves her damage by 3, so this is going to be nice for now. And yeah, let's use our spell turning and put our plan into motion. And I think also we're going to give a spell immunity to Abjuration on Edwin, but not on Senashira, because Senashira only has one spell immunity left and she absolutely needs it for a fight a little bit later on. So here we're going to just rely on the fact that she's level 16 and their wizards are level 10, so she should be able to be safe from their remove magics. We'll see how that's going to work. So yeah, let's wait for Edwin for a little second. We're also going to use here our Ifriti, finally. The Ifriti is kind of useful in certain situations because he has a couple of spells that he can unleash instantly. Like for example Flame Strike, the level 5 spell, which is useful in certain situations. But you have to be kind of careful with him because in our situation it's not going to matter because we are all protected against fire. But if you're not careful with him, and sometimes even if you are careful, he can unleash a fireball you know, that is more harmful than beneficial, you know, can deal a lot of damage to our party, interrupt our spells if we are unlucky and that kind of stuff. So he is situational, but we are going to give him a chance here. But anyway, let's have our mages. Oh yeah, and also Edwin is going to get this pair of Boots of Speed. Alright, and now let's unleash again as our Scorchers from our wands at our mages. I'm going to explain in a second. Also what you can do is use the normal spell. Although it deals less damage, you can put 2 of them in a minor spell sequencer, for example, and unleash both of them at once. And basically what this is going to do here, since we have spell turning active, these again as our Scorchers are going to you know, bounce between our mages multiple times before the spell turning effect is depleted, and they're basically going to create a death ray of fire that is pretty much going to instantly kill or severely injure anyone that comes in contact with it. And this is going to be pretty cool with the Kuo-Toa, who are, you know, vulnerable against fire, and we're going to showcase that in a second. Alright, so there we go with our, again as our Scorchers, and in time these beams of course are going to bounce between the 2 spell turnings, and as you can see already the beams, you can see how prominent they are. Right, and here they also have a priest with them in this group, but let's deal with them here. Just position ourselves correctly, and boom! We just completely destroy them. There's only their wizard, who of course has minor globe active, and that protected him against our stuff, but as you can see we are able to deliver a lot of damage here, and not to ruin the other fights, I'm going to wait for this effect to dissipate but that was kind of cool. A death ray that we can unleash. And as you can see, it consumes the spell turning effect quite quickly. These beams have bounced so many times that we have to be protected against fire here. Before they dissipate, they are going to deal damage a couple of times to our characters. Alright, there he is. And let's just try to interrupt him with Senashira, and we might give a chance to this Ifriti to use some flame strikes that are going to be effective against that wizard. We also try to interrupt him. He wasn't there. But the Ifriti, he didn't save against his flame strike, and with the increased damage, well, that was it for him. Alright, so let's just wait for this effect to fade. Alright, and now we're going to leave most of our party here and pull all of the other groups. There's going to be basically 3 separate groups here. They apparently didn't join the fight already, but sometimes if some of these, you know, Kuo-Toa, if they were left alive for more than a second, they would be able to retreat a little bit into this corridor, and that would incentivize the guys in there, I think, to join the fight. But anyway, here what we're going to do is we're going to send Senashira in, and Edwin, and I think even Imoen is going to go in, although she's not hasted, and she doesn't have boots of speed, so I think maybe we're going to leave Imoen here. And she's going to join the battle soon. Alright, so here let's try to kind of get these guys in. Yeah, there are some guys coming from the right as well. And we're going to use Sunfire on Edwin here to deal some damage to all of them. And Senashira is going to try to kind of sneak in to the other room. And I think she's blocked. Alright, there's going to be a prince of these Kuo-Toa, and he is pretty buffed up, unless we do this. Here we can see that our cursor changes again. So this is their main room with the healthy tadpoles swimming, but we can contaminate it with our... let's have Edwin cast another Sunfire before his stone skins are cut through. Hopefully we can manage that. But anyway, we can contaminate that pool by throwing in the sickly tadpoles. And now it worked. And it basically, you know, it weakens the Kuo-Toa. It makes them... well, I think the normal Kuo-Toa are actually not affected by that too much. But the main thing that it does is actually removes a certain amount of buffs from their prince, who is now in stealth, because he can backstab for ×5 damage if he is not weakened. But basically what that does is this, it removes his blur effect, it removes his regeneration that he normally has, and his 90% magic resistance. So it weakens him quite significantly, and I think he's right here. That's why this animation is there. He is mainly weakened by that effect. Alright, so we have cleared out most of them. Let's maybe throw in a fireball from our Ifriti here. Boom, that did some good. Yeah, I think now we can think about going in, I think. It's not Edwin anymore. Alright, here's the prince. So yeah, let's try to destroy him. Yeah, he was stunned, I think, by their own bolts coming from Imoen. Yeah, and then we still have a few of these guys, but we can just deal with them normally with our physical damage. And I'm trying to always give a direct order to what this Ifriti is supposed to cast next. And just not to allow him to kind of cast on his own. But actually, since we are pre-buffed against fire, let's give him an opportunity to unleash another fireball here. Yeah, of course we are all immune, only Anoman took 1 damage because he made his save and he is 90% resistant to fire. And thank you, Ifriti. Alright, cool, and I think that should be all of them. Here's kind of some place of worship for them, and there's going to be a lot of looting.
I am ready. It is done. Yes, certainly.
Right, so the prince. Let's just loot him individually first. Alright, he died here. Here we're going to be able to... yeah, we have this better potion, and I think we moved them over here. Yeah. Right, he also has quite a few gems and some cash on him, I believe. Yeah, he is quite wealthy. And we also have a Globe of Invulnerability scroll. I think these bigger stacks of gems are going to go to Animan's gem bag. He also has a special pair of bracers, quite a few of these Kuo-Toan bolts. And also, we have a vial with his blood now. Basically, coming from the central hub in the Underdark, like I said, there are passages to 3 side areas, and in each one of them, there's going to be a leader type of the creature that mostly inhabits the certain side area. Here, this was the Kuo-Toan Prince, and this is a quest item for later, so we're going to save that. And here we're just going to try and use our quick loot to take all of these bolts. Especially, we're going to be able to scavenge a lot of them. This is random loot, I think, Tensor's transformation from one of these dudes.
What is it?
Alright, so more bolts for Imoen. I shouldn't have identified these ones so they could stack.
I am listening.
Yeah, now unfortunately, if you're not on the first page of the quick loot, it always defaults to the last one.
I can hold no more. That item has been dropped.
Sometimes this is painful, trying to stack all this stuff. Because I do want to have all of these bolts available to us, especially now that we have kind of a dedicated crossbow user in Imoen. She's going to be able to make some good use out of these stunning bolts. Right, so the group here has been looted, and now just a little bit more.
I can hold no more. That item has been dropped.
Let's try to do this pretty quickly, pretty efficiently. And these bolts, you know, they look like... Oh, even 1 arrow of detonation. Yeah, I think I mentioned that they look like normal bolts plus 1, but they are much better than that. Alright, so we're going to get these to Imoen. She's going to be overburdened by these potions. But anyway, let's identify these bracers. Bracers of Blinding Strike. And they give us improved haste for basically 3 rounds. So it's a pretty short duration, but it's another source of improved haste. So they are quite useful in certain situations. And yeah, now is the time for the big fight. This was the easy stuff. Now comes the proper fight. So we're going to try to stay here and pre-buff a little bit more. Now Kirna is going to use one of these potions. And now we're going to need to heal up a little bit and make use of our mirror images. Now they are not going to be instantly dispelled, and we definitely need to take advantage of that. Actually, you can even blur yourself first. And this is the encounter that Seneshira really needs that spell immunity to abjuration for. Also, let's just renew some stuff, just in case. I think Animan is going to also get Blade Barrier after some personal buffs. We're also going to haste for this. Alright, get that, buddy.
What should I fetch now?
First we haste, we can throw in a bless as well. And let's give spell immunity to abjuration on everyone that can have it. Because there is going to be some remove magics flying around, and we don't want to be dispelled. Right, and now we are ready, I think. Right, so here, as you can see, is a group of Drow that also has 2 Glabrezus with them, 2 Stone Golems, And this is actually not all of them. Some of them, well, I think there's one or two of them invisible right now, the thieves that they have that can backstab. But anyway, we cannot understand this Drow, and this is going to lead to an encounter. And I want to clear this out already. But basically, progressing in the Underdark, progressing the main story, there's going to be quite a few different events related to it that can be completed in a variety of ways. So for example here, this door behind them we cannot open, and it's basically like a quest related door. This is all our ultimate destination that is going to lead us back to the surface, where of course this is where we want to go. Go back to Ethkatla, track down Irenicus, get our soul back, the works. But this is going to be locked, and there's a couple of ways to get it unlocked, and one of them is we've of course from Goldander heard about Adalon, who apparently is going to be able to help us gain entry into the Drow city, and that is going to be done by us having a disguise. That is also, while in that form, we are going to be able to communicate with Drow. So if you came here with that form active, we would be able to actually talk to this Drow leader and convince him to open the door for us. We would be able to basically, we would have a bluff line saying that there's an imminent attack expected from the surface elves, and that you know, to prevent it, I guess, we have to immediately go to the surface, and he needs to let us pass. And he's going to reply that he doesn't know anything about such orders, but we can intimidate him and then get the door opened, and that's all you need to do. Then when you get through the door, you're going to be in the passages that lead to the surface, and you can complete it, you know, this section pretty quickly that way. But we're of course going to do everything that there is to do in the Underdark. So here I just want to get rid of them already, instead of later, where we're going to have some help, and I don't want any help. So anyway, here there's a couple of... They have a priestess, they have a couple of Drow that I think some of them might be fighter mages, and we have this Drow wizard, which is actually a level 18 wizard with access to level 9 spells and whatnot. So he is quite prominent, and like I said, there's at least one backstabbing thief, then they have these two Glabrezus and two golems, and normally I don't really like kiting opponents for such a distance here, but engaging them as they are now is pretty suicidal here, because being stuck in these narrow corridors makes it unable to maneuver at all. Like, even if you just want to focus your attacks on someone, that's going to be hard to achieve. Of course, spreading out to avoid any AoE spells is not going to be an option as well. So it's just a nightmare fighting here. So basically what I'm going to do, well, first let's allow them to go all hostile, activate their pre-buffs and whatnot. And yeah, this mage has immunity to abjuration, which makes it a little bit problematic. He also has spell shield and spell trap, so we are going to need that ruby ray that we have indeed. And we also first are going to have to deal with his spell shield. Yeah, so of course they have a ton of buffs. He actually has fire shield, and I think some of them might have protection from fire. Yeah, the wizard has. He should be completely immune to fire as he is now. But we are going to unleash our firestorm on Animen soon, because that's our only AoE spell that bypasses magic resistance, and this is going to be really useful. And also, these Drow have some stunning bolts of their own as well, so we really don't want to have our chaotic commands dispelled. That's why I said that this spell immunity to abjuration is just absolutely necessary, especially considering that these Glabrezus can throw in their remove magics. But anyway, let's just have one cloud kill here to kind of incentivize them to move out of this cloud and follow us a little bit more efficiently. Alright, what was cast there? Spell Thrust was cast on Senashira that dispelled her spell immunity. That is terrible, because I forgot to pre-buff her with Spell Shield. Man! There's always some kind of mistake that I have to make, you know, when there's all of these pre-buffs that I want to have on. Now Senashira is going to be pretty vulnerable, so we're going to try to keep her out of this fight for... Well, she's not going to be able to be kept, you know, she's an important part of our party, so she's not going to be able to just stay out of this fight. We need her, but we're going to be careful with her for sure. Alright, so here comes the golem, and none of the other guys seem to be too willing. Okay, here they go. Right, now we really have to worry about
What do you want?
their remove magics directed at Senashira. Let's have True Sight active on Imoen to dispel these like mirror images that these Glabrezus can have, and for this one in particular, before this True Sight goes up, let's unleash this minor spell sequencer with double magic missiles. That should get rid of his stuff quite efficiently. Let's just have Senashira prepared to avoid some stuff. I think nothing is coming her way, so let's just have her aid our physical damage dealers here. Right, that's cool. They are getting injured by that fire damage of our firestorm. That's very nice. And let's wait a little bit more. Let them come.
Yes? What is it?
Alright, so here comes the wizard. He doesn't have immunity to divination. So our True Sight, if we are positioned in a better way, might be able to affect him already. And make our job easier here. Alright, remove magic
Yes, certainly.
on Anoman that we're not going to be able to avoid too much with him, but perhaps Senashira, okay, she is going to be affected, and she got completely affected by that. And Anoman actually resisted these effects, and I think Jaheira as well. Alright, so that makes it a little problematic. Let's at least have some mirror images on Senashira here.
No problem at all.
Alright, there's that backstabbing Drow. Alright, let's move in with our skeleton warrior now.
Something else?
Yeah, his illusions were dispelled, so let's maybe use this opportunity to get rid of his... does he have globe or minor globe? I think he surely has globe, so actually we cannot use our spell thrust here. We are going to need secret word to get rid of his spell shield first. Alright, so Edwin, come with us here. Right, he has spell trigger with another spell shield, which just overrides his previous one, so it doesn't really matter, but he also added spell deflection now. Anyway, first things first, we have to get rid of that spell shield.
Yes?
Alright, Senashira. This spell shield of yours is now going to be useless. And you have no more... Okay, you have one more stone skin, let's have that on. Alright, the wizard's spell shield was dispelled. Now we need that
What is it?
that ruby ray from Senashira, and we cannot use remove magic on him because he has immunity to abjuration, and it's quite far down the list of priority when it comes to single target dispel. So our ruby ray is going to get rid of his spell trap. Then our next dispel is going to get rid of his spell deflection, and then our next dispel is going to well, also get rid of his globe, and then our next dispel is going to get rid of his immunity to abjuration. So I'm not even sure if we have that many at our disposal, but first things first, we have to get that ruby ray going. And that priestess tries to cast something. This drow is, I think, a fighter mage, and also our firestorm expired, and I think we need one more just to get rid of all of these other like stragglers and whatnot. Alright, the priestess has sanctuary, but at least we can get rid of that drow back there. I think he might have some dispels at his disposal. Alright, breach at Sir Anoman. It's not going to be that big of a problem. And yeah, we have now dispelled spell trap on that guy. No, we still haven't. This is still going. Alright. Oh, the spell shield, actually, he had double spell shield active. Normally that's not available for us players to do such a thing, but I guess with the pre-buffs and the spell trigger, that actually overwrote his previous spell shield, and he actually did have two of them. That's not how it's supposed to work normally, but anyway. Let's at least attack this priestess in the meantime. She has physical mirror, so we cannot use range damage. But we can have Jaheira and Senashira and this skeleton warrior try to do some damage. And I guess now, since we don't have our only way of dispelling his spell trap, what we're going to have to do is just kind of outlast this wizard. And we're going to have Kiranai just throw daggers at him. And this now gives us the message that weapon is ineffective because he has, you know, one of his protections. But we're just going to have to basically outlast these protections and then just go in with our physical damage.
What is it?
Alright, Anomen's fire shield, yeah, that was interrupted. But it shouldn't be that big of a problem. It seems like these three are the only ones left. Alright, the Drow wizard has time stop and now he might destroy us. We'll see what he can do. I think they might be out of remove magic, so we should be relatively safe against different effects. Yes, and Ashira, she doesn't have chaotic commands, so she did get stunned. But oh yeah, and now Anomen is silenced. So we cannot use remove paralysis. So Senashira is out of this fight. But let's try to use our range damage to just finish off this Drow. The priest has just died, and we only have this wizard to worry about. Oh, and actually summon something. Caco Fiend. So that's going to be that Bone Fiend with his Cone of Cold. So Jaheira, equip these boots just to be sure. Let's limit the damage coming from that guy as much as possible. And also Edwin was affected by Secret Word. That dispelled his spell immunity because he didn't have anything else active. Alright. And I think that sound might have indicated that this guy had his protection dispelled. So let's actually try that out. Maybe we will be able to stun him with our bolts. Yeah, okay, we're still getting the message of weapon ineffective. Let's take care of that Bone Fiend then. Unfortunately, Senashira is kind of in the way. She has protections on her though, so she should be okay in that regard. Right, he has gone invisible, but he should reveal himself soon. Also, oh yeah, Anomen is silenced, but we have some other sources of remove fear, because once Senashira gets active from her stun, I don't want her to, she is also fear right now, I don't want her to, you know, like kind of start running around in panic. So let's get that covered. Alright, and let's try to get to this wizard while we can. I think at the end of his didn't pay enough attention. I think at the end of his yeah, at the end of his time stop, they always renew their protection. So he still has improved mantle. 4 rounds surely have not yet passed, but we're basically waiting for that Bone Fiend to reveal himself. Okay, let's actually get to him now, and let's use yeah, detect illusion to get the wizard out of his stealth again. Now our haste dissipated, so that's pretty unfortunate. And yeah, let's get to this Bone Fiend. Senashira was not affected by that. I think he has okay, power word silence. That was not stun. Right, none of that really matters here. We should be good. Ah, really? You interrupted a mirror images cast. Right, that Bone Fiend died, so now we have just this wizard. Let's switch to ranged weapons and try to get to him as soon as his protections fade. I think Jaheira is going to be in melee. I'm going to sacrifice her. Alright, here what we're going to do is give the Boots of Speed to Anomen. And we're going to get him out of here. He doesn't have his chaotic commands anymore. Alright, but he was unaffected. Reign of Enfeeblement on Jaheira also doesn't matter, especially since she saved against that, but she can still use her sling, even if she is immobilized by having low strength. Alright, I really do want some protections on Edwin. Let's try to reapply them. Alright, cool. And now this is the only thing that we can do now is just try to outlast his protections, and they shouldn't be active for much longer. Alright, now we're not getting this message. There's another chaos. I saw him casting an enchantment spell at Jaheira, so I tried to pull her out of there, and it was like moderately successful. Of course, with our saves, even by chaos with its save penalty, we shouldn't be too scared of that, but anyway, now we just have to cut through his stone skins that he just reapplied, but we can just keep up the pressure, and with all of our attacks we should be able to get to him. Charm Person on Jaheira is not going to work, dude. Alright, whew. We did deal with all that, although I did make some mistakes. I should have... First of all, I forgot to pre-buff Senashiro with Spell Shield, so she got... Her spell immunity to Abjuration was easily dispelled, which shouldn't have happened in the first place. And then the second thing was that double Spell Shield, which it shouldn't really work like that, but I'm going to have to keep that in mind, that if they already have one from pre-buffs and one that they reapply later, apparently they do stack. Alright, anyway, we are quite over time already, so I'm just going to, in between episodes, wait out this stun, which actually should fade quite soon. But this is going to be it for this episode. We're going to loot in the next one and move on to some other adventures in the Underdark. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next episode.